Hello and welcome back to Baron's Den, as today we look at the new Blood Bowl FAQ for the tabletop game, entitled Bommas, Bloodlust and Blocking. So every 6 months they release an FAQ where if they want to make any little tweaks to the rules or other aspects to the game, they can make it using these, and it overrides what will be in the rule books or in the Spike magazines and Death Zone, things like that. So there's been a few of these now. So there's going to be quite a lot of detail in this, but luckily they tend to only put the new stuff in a different colour in magenta, so you can really locate what it is that's changed since the last FAQ. But first of all, let's have a quick look through the article. So first of all, we've got Jim and Bob. What does FAQ stand for, Jim? You keep asking that, Bob. Greetings, sports fans. It's May, and that means the Blood Bowl design team is ready to provide the first of their biannual FAQ updates. We caught up with Blood Bowl rules writer and chief herald of Nuffle, Jay, to see what balance updates have been implemented this time round. So Jay says, over the past months, we've been keeping a close eye on the state of Blood Bowl, looking at tournament results, win percentages, and the questions sent into our FAQ box. We have answered some of the more burning questions, as well as taken the opportunity to rebalance the game in a few ways. A process we explain here. Haha, Underworld denizens. So Underworld have been haunting the top of the tournament meta for quite a while, and I got absolutely what's the word? Lots of people were throwing vegetables at me when I placed Underworld lowish. It's not that low. At least it made the top 10 in my top 10 teams because of their domination in the tournament scene. But it was mainly made on the point of that. It's a completely different meta when you're only having a sample of the teams involved, and you don't have the star player access that the Underworld do in the tournament games. And now we've already seen the Underworld limited with star players with the rise of megastars. Doesn't mean they can't use them, just it's not as easy as it was. Let's see what else they've done to address the power dominance that they've had over other teams. It's fair to say that Underworld denizen teams have been dominating for some time now. We have opted to rebalance them slightly and bring them in line with the rest of the teams. As a result, we have removed the swarming trait from the Underworld Snotlings, meaning that they can no longer flood the pitch and overwhelm their opponents. Decisions like this are never taken lightly, and we are confident that this change will help to rein in the Underworld Denizens team slightly whilst still allowing them to compete. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I've seen a lot of people in the Blood Bowl community asking for this, suggesting this as a potential fix towards their domination. It's nothing game breaking. It's not going to make Underworld go from dominating to being absolutely useless. It may still see them at the top, but not being able to flood the pitch with those extra snotlings is going to take away another arrow from their quiver. Now obviously if you're an Underworld coach, that's going to suck. So that's why they say these decisions are never taken lightly. It's great for everyone else, but those people who play Underworld will be like, well, why can't I keep my swarming snotlings? But it to me, it makes sense. It means that of all their extra toys that the Underworld do have when it comes to mutations and mutation access, star player access, the snotlings, the low cost of the linemen, the bribery and corruption, all these things do make them potent threat. Well, now we've just taken one of those away, it should help reel them in. Guarding and fouling. One of the things that has become apparent is the constant growth of a fouling meta, where coaches are prioritising fouling the opposition off the pitch. Yes, this is true. This is becoming increasingly prevalent, so we have decided to lessen the impact slightly. Before, players with the guard skill would be able to provide offensive and defensive assists to foul actions, making it even easier to stick the boot in. In this update, we have changed this so that guard now only provides assists to block actions instead. Okay. I don't think that's going to change too much. I think you're still going to see loads of people fouling. But I suppose it means that teams like Dwarves and Orcs who go heavy into guard early on won't at least be able to draw on that. So it will affect that a little bit more. Whereas other teams, like the more the agility teams with less strength access, aren't losing out by not having guard, and they can foul as well as others. So yeah, that's fine with me. Got no problems with that. Goblin Bombers. One of the smaller changes is to Goblin Bombers, who have gained access to passing on primary rather than secondary. This brings them in line with the likes of Snotling Fungus Flingers and makes them more adept at chucking their iconic bombs. Goblin coaches rejoice. Yes. I mean, it makes no sense for the Snotling Fungus Flingers to be better throwers than the Goblin Bombers. They should be at least the same. So giving them the same access makes sense. And yeah, that's going to make the Goblin Bombers more potent. Now, I know people are frustrated with the bombing scene, but I think that was more because of the star player bomber Dribble Snot than it was because of general Goblin Bombers. Goblins, I mean, clearly they're not dominating the scene. I think they are the bottom ranked side on the tournament scene out of all of the teams, which is a shame because Goblins shouldn't, in my opinion, shouldn't be the worst. If anything, Goblins should be the best stunty in terms of the lore. They should have enough tricks that they're not too far off the level of like the tier 2s. I almost see Goblins in the past as being a bit more like tier 2.5 than tier 3. This was pre-2016, I'm talking. So it's nice that they're trying to help the Goblins out because, yeah, I don't like seeing Goblins being worse than Halflings and Snotlings. It just doesn't make sense. They should be, pushing to be in the next tier above, I think. So it's not going to change anything too drastically. It just means that Goblins will be able to make use of leader quicker. They'll be able to get accurate on that bomber. But it's not going to be game changing because it's hard to get SPP on the bomber. They're not causing casualties. They're not getting any SPP for killing people with the bombs. It's only if they score or get the MVP really that you're really going to see it. So that it's not going to make a drastic change. But it's just less egregious when a Goblin coach sees a Snotling Fungus Flinger with primary access. It also means in your tournament skill packages now, you're not using up a secondary skill. You're using a primary skill if you wanted to make your Goblin a bit better. Bloodlust clarifications. We have also taken the opportunity to clarify a number of interactions with Bloodlust traits. Does a player have to take Bloodlust if they begin their activation prone? What happens if a stunned player is stunned again by being bitten? And how does Bloodlust react with foul appearance? All have been tackled in this FAQ. Well, that's good. We'll catch up with those when we look at the FAQ. Finally, the newest team to stroll onto the pitches across the Blood Bowl world, Gnomes, have caused quite a stir across the community. There has been a small confusion regarding the Trickster trait, so we have provided some clarifications to help. Also, we mentioned in the Gnome Reveal blog, we have amended the Halfling Master Chef so that their discounted rates only apply to Halfling teams. Cool. We are confident these clarification changes will help your games run smoother and provide a more entertaining Blood Bowl experience. In the meantime, if you have any other questions or queries regarding Blood Bowl, send them to that email address for consideration on our next update. We see you in November. I have one. Fix Hail Mary Pass. That is the only thing I want, really. I just think it's such a useless skill now. And Iron Hard Skin. Yeah, if I could, I would go back to Hail Mary Pass working on a 2+. Regardless of range. Always being random. I mean, you could even make it even more of a random, like give it an extra bit of text so it scatters an extra square or something. It's not that I want to make it so people can do Hail Mary throws straight to catchers. It's just to make it a slightly useful skill. So if it's towards the end of the game, just being able to Hail Mary it to the other end of the pitch, even if it's going to cause a turnover, that's fine. But with the way the rules are at the moment, that you've got to use the range template, you're going to fumble it or do a badly, what's it called? The bad throw. Horrendously inaccurate. That's not what it's called, but I'm going to call it that. So it scatters from your thrower instead of from the destination square. That's what I'd love to see changed. Either that or they change that horrendously inaccurate pass to be, instead of D6 scattered from the thrower, be D6 scattered from the intended target. Because I just think that's just too punishing, and throwing's hard enough. So it would be nice if the Hail Mary pass got a bit of a boost. Oh, and the other one, I just thought of it and I've forgotten it again now. Iron Hard Skin, that was it. Can we have that work with Mighty Blow as well? Because at the moment, no one takes Iron Hard Skin. Because Claws is very limited. There's not that many players with it. And you need to have a player that's at least got Armour 9+ to make it effective. And those players have got far more effective skills anyway. So if it was to defend against Mighty Blow as well, then you could see any player making use of that. You could put it on a Goblin. So I don't know. I just think those are two skills that need a bit of tweaking. Anyway, let's have a look at the designer's commentary. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm only going to look at the stuff in magenta because those are the new bits and bobs. So, question. If a player is bitten by a vampire as a result of a failed bloodless roll and becomes stunned, even if already stunned, do they roll over and become prone at the end of the turn in which they were stunned, or the following turn? Yeah, at the end of the following turn. Yeah, that makes sense because otherwise they're not stunned, are they? So that seems like an obvious one, but I suppose it needs clarification. Can a player with movement of 2 or less attempt to rush to stand up instead of attempting to roll a 4+? No. Yeah, that just seems like you're trying to get round having to roll a 4+. I think that 4+ is basically a rush from the ground, isn't it? It replaces the rush. Can the pro skill be used to re-roll the dice when a player attempts to stand up? No. Is it because you can't use your skill unless you're standing up? I mean, I suppose it makes sense. Nothing else new. Ooh, if a player uses the ball and chain move special action and moves out of the tackle zone of a player with the tentacle skill, does the player with tentacles get to use the skill? No. Yeah, that makes sense, because if there's a big whirling ball of death next to you, even the tentacle players probably want to let them go. But they do need to clarify these things. I mean, it's very edge case, isn't it? How often are you going to get that situation? Probably not a lot, but it's come up, so someone's asked the question. Okay, Fumblerooski. If a player with a Fumblerooski skill begins their activation without the ball, and then picks it up during their activation, can they still use Fumblerooski skill during their activation? The answer is yes. Oh, what is Fumblerooski? Is that where you place the ball on the floor somewhere? Safe pair of hands is where you choose where the ball's going to land if you get knocked over. I think Fumblerooski is you can put the ball down, can't you? So that's good that you can pick. So you can start without the ball, pick up said ball, and then deliver it somewhere else during your activation. I have still yet to even try Fumblerooski. I'm sure there's players out there who could make use of it, but to me it's not a skill that I've had to tackle yet. All of this stuff is stuff they've changed before. Alright, we've got a load of bloodlust stuff here. If a player with the bloodlust trait begins their activation prone, do they still need to roll for bloodlust? Yes. Again, that should be fairly obvious, you know, that they're going to need... It's their activation, isn't it? Whether they're on the floor or not. You know, that's still got to kick in, otherwise you're giving an advantage to players who are prone, which seems a bit odd. If a player with the bloodlust trait fails the roll for bloodlust, can they continue to move after biting a thrall in order to score, make a pass, or reposition? No. After a model has bitten a thrall, they may move no further unless they have a rule that specifically states otherwise, such as running pass. Okay. Yeah, because the biting of the thrall thing tends to happen at the end, doesn't it? That's the way I always remember bloodlust. You know, you do all your actions first and then you go and bite somebody. What happens when a player with the bloodlust trait targets a player with the foul appearance skill and fails both the bloodlust and the foul appearance? The player must first take the bloodlust roll. If this is failed, they may choose to change their declared action to a move action, in which case they will not need to roll for foul appearance. If they do not, they will need to roll for foul appearance as normal. If this is failed, then their action is wasted and their activation will end. This will result in a turnover if they are unable to bite an adjacent thrall teammate. Yes, because the thralls don't have foul appearance. For a minute there I was thinking, oh, do you have to roll foul appearance if you want to bite someone? Forgetting, of course, the only people you bite are the thralls and they don't have foul appearance. Yeah, again, edge case, but it's come up so someone had to ask the question. Oh, we're on to gnomes now. When a player uses the trickster trait, does the player being removed from the pitch... Oh, no, let me read this again. When a player uses the trickster trait, does the player being removed from the pitch and then placed again count as the player moving? No. It is a placement, not a move. As such, any rules that interact with a player moving, such as shadowing or tentacles, will not come into effect. Well, that's a good bit of clarification. So it's not your move. You can bamf into a new square, and then you can take your move action later. If a player uses the tentacles trait and places themselves in a square containing the ball, do they need to attempt to pick it up? If a player uses the trickster trait and places themselves in a square containing the ball, oh yeah, do they attempt to pick it up? No. It is a placement, not a movement. As such, the ball will immediately bounce in the same manner as if the player had been pushed back. Again, this is good clarification, and it makes a lot of sense, but sometimes you want to be clear about these things. Oh god, here we go. When a player performs a block action, including as part of a blitz action, this player can offer both offensive and defensive assists, regardless of how many opposition players are marking them. So is that just taken out the bit about fouling? Yeah. Maybe the original said block, blitz, or foul. But that is brilliant. I'm happy with that. I don't mind a bit of fouling, and I'm going to utilise fouling in my games, and I already have done. But sometimes it gets to the point where there's just something so just not fun about having like 9 dwarves with guard all surrounding you. You know, no, that's over the top. You don't need 9, but do you know what I mean? Just surrounding players with guard, foul, move on to the next player. It's just not great to play against. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not breaking the rules. It's just a bit rubbish, isn't it? But that will help curb it a little bit. But people will still do it. Dwarves, even the dwarves with or without guard, will still gang up and give the player on the floor a good kicking. So I don't see it changing too much. Halfling Master Chef. This is just basically, instead of Thimble Cup, I imagine it just says Halfling teams now. So gnomes can't get used to it. Bommas adds the passing skills to primary, and Underworld remove the swarming trait. So those are all the things that they talked about in the article. And nothing else new, I don't think. And then, gnomes have been added to Tier 3. 5 Tier 3 teams. It was just 3 for such a long time, and now we have 5. Yep, no other changes there with the tier list. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, that, to me, makes no sense. Orcs should be in Tier 1. And I'd have thought humans as well, to be honest. Maybe it's because in Tier 1 they don't feel good enough, but to me they both feel too good for Tier 2. Certainly Orcs anyway. I mean, they win a lot of tournaments. They dominate the Blood Bowl 3 scene at the moment. I look at some of these other teams. I mean, I put Dark Elf and Skaven at the top of my list of top Blood Bowl teams, and people were quick to shout me down for that, but there they are in Tier 1. I suppose if you were doing a top 10 of Blood Bowl teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, well, there you go, there's 10 of your 11 there. But of course, a lot of people disparage the GW tier list. I don't see much too wrong with it. Like I said, Orcs maybe being in the wrong place. On the whole, yeah, these are the teams that are good to go out the gate and will get better. These are the teams that have got great potential, but have some sort of flaw or are weak to something that they need a few more skills before they get as good. But these can eventually become better than these. And then these are the ones that are basically flawed. And they need things like star players and special rules and fouling and other bits and bobs to bring them onto the level of these two. But as we know, you can win with Tier 3 teams, and you can lose badly with your Tier 1 teams. It's not a balanced game, it's never been a balanced game, but you can still win with any team. I think that's the best way I can put it. Okay, so the thoughts generally are that that's one of the better FAQ updates. Normally, what's being changed is quite minimal, and it's just clarifications. What I like about this one is they've actually watched the tournament scene, or watched the Blood Bowl scene in general, and are now reacting to some of the things that they are seeing and not liking, such as fouls and Underworld dominance, which is good. Sometimes I wish they'd do a little bit more. Like I said, I'd love to see changes made to Hail Mary Pass and to Ironhard Skin, just to make them a little bit more usable. I mean, that's a good question. If Ironhard Skin stopped Mighty Blow as well as Claws, would it be too powerful then? Or is the fact that Tackle, is the counter to dodge and Wrestle's the counter to block, is it okay for Ironhard Skin to be the counter to Mighty Blow? Would that help at all with the Bash meta? Or would it really not change much, because the teams that are going to benefit from that are the Bash teams, because most of the teams with mutation access are the bashier ones? Would it make Underworld even better? Now I think about it. Maybe Ironhard Skin Shouldn't be in the mutations at all. It should be a trait. That's probably what I'd do. I'd remove it from mutations and give it a defense against Mighty Blow as well. Cancels Mighty Blow and Claws. Just me personally. Oh, then we could put regeneration into mutations. I always feel from a lore point of view, regeneration should be in the mutations because, you know, it's something that in the lore you can definitely mutate, so you can suddenly be able to regenerate. But again, I'm thinking maybe they've done that as a balancing thing, that they thought they don't want people throwing regeneration on all of their players who've got access to it. But again, would people? I don't know. I mean, I've just watched my undead games. I don't think I've had anyone regenerate in all the games I've played so far. So I don't know. So yeah, okay. I'm going to leave it there then. So good changes overall. Have they gone far enough? Did they go too far? It's up for everyone else to decide. This Blood Bowl player though is pretty happy with it, and I look forward to seeing how that's then implemented in Blood Bowl 3. Will that come in the next update in the Season 5? Will it be a mid-season change because, you know, they're not great game breaking? It shouldn't take a lot of work to implement those couple of little changes. Or is it going to be something that we have to wait until like Season 10 before they finally get round to it? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thank you. Bye.